What's up, mortals? It's Dante from the Anime Underworld, and today we are going over chapter 233 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled The Mysterious Assassins. And I'm sorry, I can't take them seriously like this. After weeks of epic title pages from the Seven Deadly Sins, I can't take the Four Knights of the Apocalypse seriously when they're dressed like this. It's cute, don't get me wrong, but it's very silly. With a new enemy group in Camelot, what awaits the Four Knights of the Apocalypse? Well, let's get into it. We begin chapter 233 with our titular heroes walking through what's left of Camelot after all the citizens have left. Percival notes, sure is lonely. We keep walking and there's just nothing here. Gawain notes that this is likely what Camelot is supposed to look like. It's back to what it was. Now that all of the hopes that once built it are gone, and so is the illusion. Ugh, no wonder Kath was kidnapping so many people. This is depressing. The four knights continue to walk through the dreary remains of Camelot, with Percival sadly commenting that it was so bright not long ago, and now it's just dreary. And Percival has to be that person who asks Gawain, "Hey Gawain, how close are we to Merlin yet?" Yeah, Percival is the kind of guy who says, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Gawain doesn't exactly know where they're going.
What? What the fuck?
And I'd be pissed off too, just like Tristan, saying, "Wait, what? We're just walking around aimlessly forging ahead?" Gawain does have a proper response. "What do you want? All my mom said was that the key was inside me." Aw, she called Merlin Mom. Luckily, Percival's there to try and calm things down, telling them, "Okay, you two, come on. Think of it as a fun little hike." Then our washout duo yell back, "This is not fun at all." I keep forgetting how fun of a duo Gawain and Tristan are. The three fight like kids, but it's Lancelot who's actually the adult in this situation, yelling at them to keep it down, like a very angry dad driving his kids. Lancelot, in his fox form, is being asked by Tristan, "What is it, an enemy attack?" With the Knight of War saying, "Likely so." But Percival doesn't sense anyone's magic besides their own. However, Gawain brings up, what about their presence of life spirits? Percival, the life spirit, says that they are around, but he can only vaguely sense them. Then our second smartest knight, Lancelot is the smartest, puts two and two together. It's likely that someone is magically hiding their magical force, telling Lancelot he did a good job in spotting them out. Lancelot tells his teammates that he was just thinking about the prediction from Tristan's grandfather, King Bartra. All that talk about fighting weird people around gloomy precipices as they go through Camelot? Well, he was right to be anxious because out of nowhere, a volley of arrows start flying at the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, being fired upon from the invisible archer of the enemy group. Now all the knights are on their guard. That is until Percival clashes with their first enemy. Percival narrowly dodges the attacks of the Dragon Helmet Knight, who uses Scattered Rose. That staff is actually a cane sword, kind of like Cusack, who uses an attack called Scattered Rose. Percival is able to dodge, but he notices something. There's something off about this sword style. It seems familiar, and his enemy probably knows it. Percival thankfully parries with his own weapon, takes off his cloak to get serious, and shows us his new attire, which is okay. But now the Knight of Death is getting serious, proclaiming to his opponents, "If you're still siding with the fake King Arthur, I'm not going to go easy on you." I mean, look at what happened to the last group.
I have never actually seen a man realize his whole life has been a lie.
The Dragon Helmet Knight is furious, telling the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, "How dare you call King Arthur a faker, even though you are the true fakers here." Wait, what? Percival is shocked just as I am, asking, "Huh? The true fakes? Who would we be posing as?" I'm very curious too, Tristan, but Gawain says that there's no time for chit-chat. And rightfully so, because Tristan is shocked to see the knight with the bird helmet was just about to impale him like a shish kebab, but luckily Gawain was able to stop them from being impaled. However, after Gawain knocks their enemy away from Tristan, saving his life, she is hit with wings. Not just any wings, Goddess Clan wings, which is very strange inside the realm of Camelot. But before she could process any of this, one of the other enemies appears before them with his arms extended. It's the knight with the spiraled mask, kind of like Obito from Naruto, preparing to cast an incantation, saying a bunch of magical mumbo jumbo that I'm not going to get into, but what I am going to get into is Tristan removing his robe and shows us his new attire, with the dragon sword handle drawn at his side. And wait a minute, I'm just now noticing this, but Tristan has a new sword behind him. No, wait, Tristan, no, use that sword. I want to see it. The enemy knights are about to attack their respective Knight of the Apocalypse. The Goddess Clan one about to stab Gawain, and the masked individual attacking with Hail of Flame. Unfortunately for the villains, the Knights of Plague and Famine counteract their opponents, with Gawain delivering a powerful punch to her holy-themed opponent, and our boy Tristan using a classic full counter on his opponents, sending back Hail of Flame back to sender with double the force. Meliodas would be so proud. Gawain's bird-themed opponent is sent flying with great force and hits an invisible wall? Nope, an invisible knight. Out of all the directions that Gawain's opponent could have been sent, it was right in the direction of the hidden archer, which even their teammate apologizes, saying sorry, as the two collapse and the archer becomes visible and they look very feminine. But the masked mage is not over yet. From his tattooed arms comes bolts of electricity as he says another incantation and attacks with freakishly long arms, Blitz Javelin. A classic lightning spell. Unfortunately, he didn't learn from the last time, with Tristan using full counter to send the lightning attack back to sender yet again. Again, Meliodas would definitely approve of this. Despite taking 2 of his own attacks at point blank range, the masked mage is just not having this. He is furious, yelling, "What is this? These are fakers. Why are they so strong?" He's really hurting Percival's feelings, who's happy not being called a fake all day, and Tristan wants answers, dang it. Tell me, who are you people? Well, they get their answer as the last member of their group pulls up with a katana in hand. Then finally tells them and us readers who they are, introducing themselves as the Knights of the Holy Grail, and their mission is to make the deformed right again, but fails to notice that there is a fox walking right beside him. Wow, after all this time, Nakaba finally decides to use the freaking Holy Grail in a series about Arthurian legends. We're gonna get into that just in a little bit, because now it's Lancelot's turn to fight against one of the Knights of the Holy Grail, telling the last member, how about I write this deformity here first. The last member of the Holy Grail Knights turns around with his Oni mask, only for it to be smashed into pieces with a powerful swipe. If this person was normal, that probably would have broken his jaw. But this Holy Grail Knight is not a pushover, delivering a swift roundhouse retaliatory kick against the God of War, with enough force to actually push him back, just as his broken Oni mask is flying straight through the air. That's right, folks, someone actually landed a hit on Lancelot. The God of War is amazed and shocked. Not only did they land a hit on him, but it was enough force to damage his clothes. And this is Lancelot we're talking about. But it's not over yet, with the Holy Grail Knight twisting and twirling around, trying to land an attack on Lancelot with his katana, and the God of War is forced to kick and parry every single attack with rapid speed. Not only is this Holy Grail Knight as strong as Lancelot, but he's just as fast. Lancelot's opponent backflips and slashes at the Knight of War's face, twirling through the air as he catches what remains of his Oni mask, much to the other 3 knights' shock and horror. They can't believe it. Their leader, their trump card, was actually hurt. And that is how we end chapter 233. with the Knight of War, blood dripping from the side of his face, looking at his Holy Grail opponent, as he proclaims, "We make the deformed right again." And that is how we end chapter 233. There is a lot to say about this chapter, with one big theory that ties to the identity of the Knights of the Holy Grail. Speaking of the Holy Grail, I was wondering if Nakaba was even going to use it in his series. The Holy Grail is the second most iconic item in Arthurian legends, second to Excalibur. The Holy Grail is said to be a cup that Jesus Christ drank from during the Last Supper, and was later used to catch his blood during his crucifixion, which makes the Holy Grail a sacred item. But in the world of 7 deadly sins, who knows what this means? It could be an item tied to chaos. But enough about the Grail, let's talk about the Grail Knights. Now there's a big theory making the rounds that these knights, wait for it, are the future children of the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse. Yeah, I know. After numerous chapters about the old guard preparing to sacrifice themselves for the next generation, the next generation are fighting their next generation because,
time travel!
Yeah, people online are theorizing that the Knights of the Holy Grail are the future children of the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse who came back in time. I don't know why though. Do they know that they're pulling a Terminator and trying to kill their own parents? Yeah, anyway, here are the context clues showing that these knights are actually from the future and are related to the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse. For one, they are pretty mad that they would dare insult King Arthur. If these guys are from the future, then they're not talking about Cath Palug, they're talking about the real Arthur Pendragon. But here's the big clue about this knight and who they're related to. The Swordsman Holy Grail Knight fights very similar to Anne, using a slash and jab fighting style much like Anne. I mean, look, when you do a side-by-side comparison, yeah, this is clearly Anne's kid. Even Percival noticed this, saying that it's very similar. The next one is the most obvious decision for Tristan and Isolde's kid, and that is the bird-themed knight with the Goddess Clan wings, because duh. Hello, Goddess Clan wings? This is a major hint that if these knights are indeed their kids from the future, this is Tristan's kid. The next Holy Grail Knight we need to talk about who's related to the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse is the Masked Mage. Judging by the fact that he knows sorcery and magic, he is obviously Gawain's son. I mean, they are their team's respected magic users, and by process of elimination, yeah, you can put the pieces together. Ah man, that means Gawain and Balin actually get together? What the heck? Last but certainly not least, we have to talk about the leaders of both groups. Lancelot and his future son with Guinevere. I'm talking about Galahad. Now I'm calling him Galahad because that is Lancelot's most famous son in Arthurian legends. The youngest and most pure member of Arthur's Round Table, who in Arthurian legends went in search of the Holy Grail. And now that search has led him through time, apparently. When you put Galahad next to Lancelot and Guinevere, yeah, I'd buy that this is definitely their future kid. Not only do they look very similar, but Galahad fights a lot like Lancelot. He's just as strong and he's just as fast. Who else but Lancelot's own son is capable of putting a scratch on the God of War? The biggest questions now are, why are they in the past and why are they trying to kill their parents? What deformities are they trying to make right? We'll have to see in chapter 234. What are the Knights of the Holy Grail doing in the past? Can the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse find a way to not kill their own children? We're gonna have to see in the next chapter. If you love 7 Deadly Sins and 4 Knights of the Apocalypse material, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more content coming your way very soon, and comment down below about what you thought about this chapter, and what might happen in chapter 234. This has been Dante from the Anime Underworld, and I'll see you mortals later.